Hi, I'm Kimi Machiano, a pre-service health and physical education teacher. Welcome to my day in a life as a student studying at the University of Wollongong and Darwell Country. So this video is the first in my 4-part series that documents my inquiry into consent and respectful relationships education from year 7s to 10. And honestly, it's a topic I thought I already understood going in. Spoiler, I really didn't. This series is basically me showing you how my thinking changed, what I learned, and what it means for how I go to teach one day. So I chose consent as my topic because on the surface it felt straightforward. Like, teach young people about yes means yes, done, move on, right? But the more I sat with that assumption, the more I realized it was actually going a disservice to students. Consent education in schools has so often been reduced to a single lesson, a checklist, a legal definition, and nothing more. And I started to genuinely ask, is that enough? Is that enough for young people who are navigating really complex social and digital relationships in 2025? Because here's what the data actually says. The East Asia Commissioner 2023 reports that 1 in 5 young Australians aged 15 to 17 has experienced image-based abuse. The Australian Institute of Health and Welfare found that women aged 18 to 24 experienced the highest rates of sexual violence in the country. These aren't abstract numbers on a page. These are the students I'm going to be standing in front of one day. And that hit different when I actually stopped and thought about it. Now, if I'm really being honest about myself, about where my head was at when I first started this inquiry, my assumptions were pretty embarrassing in hindsight. My starting assumption was that consent education was primarily about preventing sexual assault, like a protective, reactive thing. I assumed it was most likely relevant to older secondary students, and that year 7 and 8 kids needed something more, age appropriate. Which, if I'm being real with myself, was just a way of avoiding the discomfort of teaching it. I also assumed it was a topic my parents would push back on, and that keeping things deliberately vague was the safe move as a teacher. I now understand that vagueness doesn't protect students at all. It just leaves gaps, and those gaps get filled by peers, social media, and pornography. That's not acceptable. So out of all of that came my inquiry question. How can consent and respectful relationships education move beyond just compliance, beyond just ticking a legal box, to genuinely support young people's safety, their agency, and their well-being in New South Wales secondary schools? That became the thread running through everything in this series. To explore it properly, I drew on a range of sources: peer-reviewed academic literature, the New South Wales PDHP K-10 syllabus and NESA documents, government health resources, young people's own voices from the research, learning from country, and critical engagement with generative AI tools. And each of those sources pushed back on my thinking in different ways. Some of them challenged me in ways I really didn't expect. I'll show you exactly how across the next 3 videos. Over this series, you'll see me thinking genuinely shift. I moved from seeing consent as a rule to follow to understanding it as something relational, ongoing, and deeply cultural. I moved from treating this as a sensitive topic to tiptoe around seeing it as one of the most important things I'll ever teach. And that shift happened through research, through sitting down with hard questions, and through sources of knowledge that I honestly didn't expect to learn from. This video is different. I want to take you outside to the country and show you how spending time observing and reflecting on Darwin country deepened my understanding of what consent means and respectful relationships actually mean. First, I want to begin by acknowledging the Darwin people as the traditional custodians of this country and pay my respects to elders past and present. I am a guest on this land, and that relationship between visitor and country is itself a lesson in reciprocity and respect. I spent time sitting at the Wollongong escarpment, watching the way the bush and ocean interact, the tidal patterns, the way plants root into rocky ground, the way water negotiates its way through stone without forcing. There is kind of a consent in that movement and relationship that is responsive, ongoing, and mutual. I reflected on what Darwin country teaches about relationship, land-based knowledges, center reciprocity. You take care of country, country take care of you. Relationships are not transactional. They are ongoing, relational, and grounded in mutual obligation. This reframed consent for me. If you understand relationships as ongoing and reciprocal, not a one-time transaction, then consent education needs to reflect that. It's not just, did you get permission? It's, are you continuing to check in? Are you taking care of the other person and being honest about your own needs? For my Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students in my future classroom, this is not an abstract concept. Country as teachers is a living framework. For non-Indigenous students, engaging with these ideas, even humbly and with humility, opens up a richer understanding of what relationships can look like. Bunda 2007 writes about the importance of teachers understanding country as a relational and pedagogical framework, not a romantic backdrop. I carry that responsibility seriously as a non-Indigenous teacher, not to appropriate but to sit with, to learn from, and to let that learning inform how I model, teach respectful relating. Care, reciprocity, and ongoing responsiveness, these are not just Darwin values, they are the foundations of what we call consent in sexuality education. Country helped me see that connection. Well, I grew up near the coast, but I never thought of my relationship with this land as a relationship. Engaging with this inquiry made me realize that how I relate to place mirrors how I relate to people. With attention or inattention, with care or carelessness, learning from country made me more conscious of my own patterns of relating, and that I believe makes me a better teacher of respectful relationships. So in our final video, I bring all of this together. What does it mean for how I actually teach? What does it look like in a real New South Wales classroom with real curriculum requirements and real parents, students, and community members? This final video is where I bring everything together. My inquiry has moved from assumptions to literature, through country, and now arrives in the classroom. So what does content and respect, relationships, education actually look like in my practice as a New South Wales secondary teacher? The New South Wales PDHP K-10 syllabus explicitly addresses consent, respectful relationships, and safety in the health, well-being, and relationship strength. For Year 7 to 10, outcomes include helping students develop skills to access, evaluate, and apply health information and to investigate strategies to promote their health, safety, and well-being. Consent isn't an add-on, it's embedded in the curriculum. The Child Protection Working with Children Act 2012 and the New South Wales Department of Education's Child Protection Policy create a legislative framework that obligates teachers to support students' safety. Teaching consent is not controversial, it is required. In terms of professional guidelines, the Australian Curriculum and Reporting Authority and NESA both support the inclusion of sexuality education within a health and well-being framework. The Murrumbidgee Wetlands Resource and resources from Family Planning Australia provide age-appropriate evidence-based materials I can draw. So, based on my inquiry, I will move beyond the one-lesson model. Consent is not a unit. It is a thread woven through health education across 7 to 10, revisited in development in appropriate ways. Number 2, center relationship literacy. Following Reynolds et al. 2017, I will build students' capacity to recognize, name, and navigate relationship dynamics, not just define consent. Design for inclusion. For 3, following cover, my teaching will explicitly include LGBTIQ plus scenarios and perspectives, rather than assuming heteronormative default. Use reflective and dialogical pedagogies. Embed Darwin relationship values, which means I will thoughtfully connect the concepts of reciprocity, care, and ongoing responsiveness to consent education in a way that is respectful of country and relevant to all students. My inquiry confirmed that parent and community communication is essential. Many parents carry anxieties about sexuality education, often based on assumptions about what is being taught. Research showed that when parents understand the purpose and content of consent education are more supportive. In practice, I will send home a brief, clear overview of what happens when the unit begins, including the rationale and curriculum links. Use plain language, not jargon. Make space for parent questions and feedback. Be transparent that the program is grounded in NESA curriculum and New South Wales DOE policy. Consult with the school's Aboriginal education. I will not avoid the content to manage perceived discomfort that is not in my students' best interest. Student safety is my first obligation. I will follow mandatory reporting requirements, knowing my school's safeguarding procedures, and ensure that discussions are handled with care and appropriate privacy. I will work within the school counsellor and wellbeing team framework and ensure students always know where to access help, reach out, and the school wellbeing coordinator. Content delivery will be trauma informed. I will not require our personal disclosure. I will prepare students before sensitive discussions, and I will debrief after challenging content. This inquiry began with me thinking I understood consent education. It ends with me understanding that it is one of the most complex, layered, and important things I will teach. It is about law and curriculum, yes, but it is also about culture, country, care, and the kind of relationships we model for young people every single day. That is the work, and I am ready for it. Thank you.